Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's well. I have no slides, so I apologize for that, but I think what I'm going to talk about today is kind of give a brief overview of who we are and where we are. I think a lot of people are quite keen to understand what progress we've made, but also to give a kind of a bit more of a high-level view of where I think we need to go in order to solve some of the myriad of issues that a number of the panelists have said today. And I do think, and I wouldn't be here today if I didn't think that this has an extreme potential for investment. And I also think the UK is primed to actually be able to make advantage of that. So Meygen Limited is a standalone business that was set up in 2010 in order to partake in the round with the Pentland Firth Crow State initial round there. And we were able to obtain a 400 megawatt lease, seabed lease in Pentland Firth off the Caithness coastline. It has some of the highest flows in the UK and in Europe. And really we are only focused on tidal stream rather than kind of wave energy. So really I'm going to be fairly biased in my kind of presentation today, I suppose. We've, since that time, we have basically carried out front-end engineering designs. We have gone through a consenting round whereby we've achieved consent for 86 megawatts through the Scottish Government, which is conditional on putting a phase 1A, which is around up to six megawatts, into the sound there in the next couple of years. We have also been fairly successful in getting investors to basically get involved in the project. We recently, at the end of last year, were acquired by Atlantis Resources Corporation, or Limited now, who subsequently listed on AIM and raised approximately £12 million, mainly for the focus towards the funding of the first array of this project. And I think the other funding that we're looking at achieving is obviously through government support, mainly through DEC, through the MEAD process, which we were successful in achieving last year, but also in speaking with Hyons Irons Enterprise and a number of our colleagues on the panel today. We are currently going through what is, I suppose, the final furlong, I hope, of the due diligence process, such that we have a financial close within the next month or so for six megawatts. This has probably been the hardest, well, it definitely has been the hardest 6 megawatts I've ever done in 15 years of the renewable energy industry. But I'm confident that it will go ahead, and I'm confident that it will actually create a catalyst for investment and people to actually look at our sector seriously, to be able to build plans to kind of secure funding for the build-out, which we would like to take place over the next 10 years. So I think one aspect which maybe has been lost sometime, or gets lost sometime, is why are we doing it in the first place? And I think when I started this 5 or 6 years ago, the pushes were climate change targets by the government. Also a view to actually how do we basically reduce cost to the consumer, and also in a kind of a small brackets, can we make an industrial policy out of this? Over time, that's changed. Actually, the climate change target thing seems to have kind of it's not disappeared, but certainly has taken a back seat to driving cost out, and also to being able to create an industry policy whereby UK PLC and Scotland PLC benefits directly. And we've had to adapt to that mindset as well as trying to solve all the problems of the 5 meter a second flows in the inner sound. And so in doing so, our investor attractiveness has also changed, because the drivers for those investors in the macro sense hasn't actually been stable. So it is much more of I think much more of a government play now with regards to trying to establish a supply chain in the UK and actually be able to augment and develop from what is already a significant offshore industry in oil and gas and offshore wind, whereby we can actually, I do believe we can actually build turbines here and actually create almost a, greater than 80% manufacturing expertise sector stemming from Scotland and from the UK. And that's where I think governments see the success more now than actually, that's the prize. I think that's more now than it ever has been. So how do we achieve that? And without putting any kind of, demeaning on what the task is ahead of us with regards to the first array, my particular view is that utilities and the kind of the institutional investors that we would have relied on in the past are taking a different view to the sector, but also to renewables in general, and I think we all recognise that. And where I see the Pentland Firth particularly, and I think in other geographical regions such as the Southwest, is that these areas should not actually be seen as individual projects, but rather than maybe a power station themselves, such that the Pentland Firth, if you were to be able to join the various resources into a kind of a single big picture power station, rather than actually looking at trying to develop individual utility-owned seabed masses. I actually think you'll start attracting the people who are actually investing in renewables, which are pension funds, massive investment houses, who are looking at safe bets in the future. And with that kind of overall picture, you'll also, I think, bring back some utility players who would actually be able to syndicate into those big projects. So where does Meygen sit within that? Well, I'm hoping that we are the catalyst to such a project. And I'd like to see other projects which have been leased in the Pentland Firth with these partners to be able to join forces and actually start looking at maybe a more cohesive approach to being able to develop the sector, which will attract the money that we hope. Hopefully that's me.